learning from a source that the U.S. consulate in Dubai has reportedly been hit by a suspected Iranian drone and is currently on fire. This new video appears to show the smoke billowing over the complex. 3 U.S. embassies in the region are closed as the State Department is urging U.S. citizens to leave the region.
I also saw the media reports about Dubai's consulate. The last update I had with seconds before getting before these cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building and set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Erbil and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime. With an update, I will obviously refer you to the Department of War. Suffice it to say that our objectives remain as they've been identified from the beginning and by the President laid out clearly yesterday. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and we will now not allow Iran to hide behind the immunity of a massive short-term ballistic missile inventory or the ability to make them or launch them.
Nick Robertson is in Riyadh. Nick.
Yeah, this seems to be a systematic effort by Iran to intentionally target U.S. embassies, U.S. consulates in the region. The U.S. consulate in Dubai tonight, dramatic images of huge plumes of black smoke rising over the skyline there. Dramatic pictures that many people probably never imagined that they would see, even if the United States and Israel went to war in Iran. That is what is happening. The assessment here in Saudi Arabia is that Iran retains control, command and control of what it does militarily, and it is systematically, carefully, in a calibrated and calculated way, targeting things that it believes will cause maximum panic, maximum disruption, and maximum pressure on the White House to end the war. Overnight last night, 4 drones impacted the U.S. embassy here in Riyadh. The embassy is now closed. In the afternoon today, there was an imminent, immediate threat to the U.S. consulate in Dhahran in the east of the country. The warning went out that there are potentially ballistic missiles, potentially drones incoming. Shelter in place. Don't go to the consulate. Don't leave your home. Overnight, last night as well, in Jordan, the embassy, we understand, was evacuated. The day before, the U.S. embassy in Kuwait was appeared to be the target. Black smoke billowing around there. So this is what appears to be happening. It is stark. These images are stark. We know that Dubai, we know that the UAE, we know that Bahrain, we know that Saudi Arabia, we know that Qatar, we know that Oman, we know that Kuwait have got air defense systems. They have been very effective. Yesterday, Saudi shot down 5 missiles fired at a big airbase just outside of the capital here. They shot down missiles, suspected Iranian drones that were fired at a huge oil refinery. There was some damage. But the picture that emerges is somehow Iran seems able to get drones through to key U.S. premises that send a voluminous signal and message across the region here. Particularly think of all those people that are stranded in those Gulf countries. They can't fly out because the war has essentially shuttered the airspace there. And now they're seeing these prime diplomatic targets off limits in times of war under international norms of law being hit. It appears to be Iran intending to put pressure on the White House and specifically on the U.S. public. And of course, what Iran wants is an end of the war. Max.
Nick, thank you so much. Let's go to Jennifer Hansler at the State Department as we look at these images, Jennifer. I mean, this is, I don't know quite how to describe it, the city that everyone knows. People are close to it. It's central. It's the city that relies in large part on tourism. What is the State Department saying about what happened here?
Well, we haven't heard anything yet from the State Department, Max. We heard from the UAE Media Center, the Dubai Media Center, saying that no one had been hurt in this incident. We have not yet heard from the State Department if they have gotten full veracity on all of their personnel. I should note that they were sheltering in place, the personnel in the United Arab Emirates, and it is one of several countries that were put on an ordered departure yesterday. That means that the State Department has ordered all non-emergency personnel and their family members to leave the UAE, along with 5 other countries in the region, as these Iranian retaliatory strikes continue to play out. As Nick noted, this is not the first diplomatic facility to be hit by suspected Iranian drones. We saw the embassy in Riyadh be hit last night. The embassy in Kuwait was hit both yesterday and on Sunday, as Iran continues its retaliation across the region. Now, I think there are going to be questions here, Max, about why these embassies were not put into ordered or authorized departure earlier. That's when you're given the option to leave the country. That is always something that the State Department is considering in these high-risk situations. So they finally did trigger that yesterday. There are also, of course, a number of concerns about the American citizens who have been stuck in the Middle East since the start of these military operations. We have finally started to hear some responses from the State Department today, saying that they are working to facilitate both charter commercial flights as well as military flights out of the region. The UAE is one of the countries that the State Department said it is working to facilitate flights for the Americans who are stuck. But this is a very dangerous, very rapidly escalating situation for both American citizens as well as American personnel on the ground there, Max.
We have had the good news, if I can call it that as well, that the UAE are developing a air corridor, safe air corridor, which will allow flights to leave the UAE. So Americans will be able to get back to the US, but there's going to be a long queue, of course. They're going to be pretty angry, aren't they, that they were left in this stranded position with events like this happening around them because there was no plan in place for them.
Yeah, I mean, the president himself said today, when asked in the Oval Office, that they didn't have an evacuation plan because they weren't expecting such a quick retaliation. Now, of course, that if that is in fact the case, that is a really, really shocking admission, because, you know, the State Department, as Secretary of States across the board throughout history, have said their top priority is protecting American citizens abroad. So it is typical that they would have some sort of contingency plan in place to help Americans. But we have heard from folks on the ground who are incredibly frustrated and incredibly scared because they have been stuck in what has now essentially become a war zone for days and days. And we saw, of course, yesterday there was a tweet put out by the State Department calling on Americans to depart now from some 14 countries in the region on commercial travel, when there was virtually no commercial option available to them. So there is a lot of anger, a lot of fear among the people who are stuck. And of course, Max, as you mentioned, there's going to be a long queue of people trying to leave, and there are concerns about how they might even be able to access these flights, as there are shelter-in-place orders in place and, you know, the continued threat of Iranian retaliation.
Yeah, and there's the cost of all that as well, particularly the Americans that live in Dubai and how they're going to get support going forward. Thank you so much, Jennifer.